As of 2025, there are 195 sovereign state nations in the world. Among these, 55 actively implement the death penalty. 112 have abolished it for all crimes, and 23 retain it in law, but have not carried out executions in over a decade, like Kenya. Kenya's death penalty was introduced during British colonial rule in the early 20th century. Before this, many Kenyan communities had their own justice systems, which focused more on restorative justice rather than execution, like blood money in the Maasai and Somali communities. Traditional African societies often emphasize compensation and reconciliation over harsh punitive measures like the death penalty. However, with colonialism came a Western legal system which introduced hanging as the official method of execution, and Kenya used it till 1987. The first recorded executionary sentence in Kenya was carried out by the British authorities to suppress resistance. A notable case is that of Me Katilili Wamensa, a Giriama freedom fighter who had led a rebellion against the British rule in 1913. She was sentenced to death, but due to her age and local political influence, her sentence was later commuted to life imprisonment. Others were not that lucky. During colonial rule, the death penalty was imposed for crimes such as murder and treason. After independence in 1963, Kenya maintained the death penalty, but its application evolved. In 2018, Kenya's Court of Appeal ruled that the mandatory death sentence for murder was unconstitutional, giving judges discretion in sentencing, which I benefited from. The only significant offense that was added to crimes that applied the death penalty was robbery with violence under Jomo Kenyatta. In 1960, a British settler named Peter Poole became the first and only white person to be executed in Kenya for killing a black African. There were others that were sentenced for killing a white, etc. Poole, a British-born engineer, was living in Nairobi when he shot and killed Kabawe Musunge, a local man, after Musunge threw stones at Poole's dogs. The all-white jury found Poole guilty of murder, and despite appeals from the white settler community, he was hanged at Committee Maximum Security Prison on August 18, 1960. This execution was a landmark case. Before this, white settlers had enjoyed near total immunity for crimes against black Kenyans or Asian Kenyans. Poole's execution signaled a shift in colonial justice as Kenya moved toward independence. Although Kenya has not executed anyone since 1987, the last people to face the gallows were Hezekiah Ochuka, a senior private in the Kenya Air Force, executed for leading the 1982 coup attempt against late President Daniel Arap Moi, and Pancras Oteo Okumu, an accomplice in the coup, also executed in 1987. There have been concerns about wrongful executions, but no specific cases have been officially documented to date, and I doubt they ever will be. The most infamous executioner in Kenya was Kirungumi wa Wanjuki, who worked as the official state executioner during the 1980s. The detail of his work remains shrouded in secrecy, and little is known about his successors, if any, because from what I researched, he was the last person who executed Ochuka and his accused. After execution, prisoners were typically buried in unmarked graves within prison grounds, so that's either industrial area or community. Families were not informed of the burial sites, as the government sought to avoid public outcry and prevent graves from becoming shrines, like Osama bin Laden being buried at sea. Although Kenya still retains the death penalty in law, no execution has taken place in nearly 4 decades. In recent years, there has been a growing pressure from human rights groups and legal organizations to abolish it completely from law. Several bills to remove capital punishment from Kenyan law are pending in parliament. With many African nations, including Zimbabwe in 2024 last year, abolishing the death penalty, the question remains, when will Kenya be next? Especially for politicians. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and have a good day.